like Robin just noted as well, that at the very beginning they don't have like sophisticated legal advice because probably they have just a friend who is a lawyer and who would help out establishing the company, and then they may actually end up continuing the same practice, and that may end up with some governance issues and some problems with the records and filings and corporate setup. So I think first, probably before an entrepreneur would let in investors into the company, that they would need to clear these problems.
Just thinking about, I feel like we're talking about, some of the conversation has gone way past the startup piece. And so I just want to give some really startup advice, is to come up with, start looking out for an advisory board. An advisory board is to say that this is not something formal, but it's a group of people that you can start, experts who can give you advice. So it could be someone who you know who started another company, someone who's in an industry, and you want to, and there's no money involved at all. You're not paying them and they're not investing. But to start to cultivate that group of advisors, so you might go out to lunch with them, you call them up when you have a question. Those people are really great to have, because then they can help you make all of these further later investment decisions, because they've lived it themselves. So you really want to get people who have also built their own companies. So going much, much lower down in this advisory piece. And I just wanted to echo what Kevin had said. We always give advice about choosing investors. You know, choose your investor wisely, be very careful, get to know them. I want to say 90% of the money I've taken, I haven't had a choice. It's not like there were 15 people and I got to choose, you know, which one of the 15. That mostly it's how can I get some capital and make the best of it. And mostly it is just money, no matter what they say. So I just wanted to be clear that we do talk a lot about choosing your investors, but that's a much later stage thing when you have the luxury of choice.
Great advice. I'm stealing from the coffee break, but I do want to ask if the audience has a question. Yes, over there. I could ask microphone as well. No, because it's on Ustream, we need to record it. Sorry about that.
Talking about being a smart entrepreneur, when do you know when to stop? When your idea has hit a brick wall and you can't keep pushing and pushing, and to move on to the next idea to keep being a smart entrepreneur?
I'll pass, because I've never learned how to do that.
I've never learned.
No, I mean, most of what I'm talking about here today is, you know, looking back in hindsight. I never had a business plan. I could not manage cash flow. I did no market opportunity assessment whatsoever. I learned those things through, you know, doing and sort of creating these successful disasters I was talking about. Now, on the other side, as sort of a social entrepreneur working in education, clean air, clean water, broadband and such, and then, you know, doing private equity work, you know, I'm able to bring that coaching, and I can tell when, you know, a particular, you know, individual or company is failed and beyond the point of failing, and they keep trying, and, you know, you can point out things to them. But personally, you know, I never learned how to do it when I was.
Any quick comments, please?
Really quickly, no, I'll try to be quick. In the US today, there's a lot of talk about the word pivoting. And so, you know, figure out that that's not working and then move to the next thing and move to the next thing. I think that that happens a lot. But I want to say that my second company called GoLoco, which was a ride-sharing company that I raised money on, after a year and a half, I decided to close it and give half the money back. And the reason I did that is because under the best of circumstances, when everything was lined up exactly the way that I thought that the market, that people should want to do this service, they did not want to do it. And so I could see that the US government, the US country was not ready for this, that people didn't want to consume it. And so that was a difficult decision, but I was very, very rational. I felt I spied this relatively early on, and then I kept pushing, and when I had pushed, and everything, as I say, was absolutely perfectly aligned, and people still didn't want it, so I shut it. Instead of, I guess I could have pivoted, and a competitor of mine, I founded that company in 2008, and a competitor of mine continued to try it for, how many years are we now? 5 years? And he raised a $6 million round on that idea later, like 4 years, maybe I did in 2007. So a year ago, he raised $6 million on this idea, and I was shocked because his market wasn't working, and I thought, who would invest? And indeed, he still couldn't make a go of it, and he just pivoted 180% and did something else that is succeeding. But I felt very correct to say that it was a market whose time had not come for the US, and there isn't a market there for that. So to your intellectual honesty piece, when you've tried, when the circumstances in your mind are completely perfect and it's not working, maybe it's not going to work. Although this idea of pivoting, trying other things. There's a question here about, is it important to write a business plan? I think the reason to write a business plan is for you. It's to force you to address these questions that we've been talking about. If you had the discipline to investigate those questions, no, you don't have to write a business plan. But the reason you have to write a business plan is that you don't have the discipline. You don't have the discipline to go actually figure out what is the market size, to actually figure out, what is your marketing plan, who is your very first customer. And so what is your precise budget? And that's why it's interesting to write a business plan, is it's only really it's really for you.
Great. Would anyone like to comment on the last question or these issues? I would, unfortunately, I have to say that we need to stop. I want to thank the panel. Really interesting discussion. I want to thank everyone. Just a bit of logistics. The coffee is downstairs, which is in that corner. You have to go down the hallway. It takes a minute or two to get down there. And then I expect so that Willy Benko can start on time, 11:20. Thank you very much.